All right. Hello, 12s. Mr. K here. We're starting a new unit, the urinary system. The urinary system. Peeing. All about peeing. The main organ of the urinary system is your kidneys. Here's a kidney, a large version of a kidney. Your kidneys are actually here at the back somewhere, and they're small. They're really actually quite small, and you have two of them. You can live with only one kidney. You can donate your kidney to folks who are suffering, and actually your one kidney will grow to be slightly larger. Interesting thing. But there you go. So you have kidneys. If you fall down on your back really hard a certain way, bam, you can injure your kidneys. They're protected by the back of your rib cage, but if they get jostled really hard, you will pee blood. So let's talk about this subject of this video. The topic is going to be the structures of the urinary system, all the structures. So let's talk about the big structures. Then we'll talk about individually about each one. We'll talk individually about the kidney. So let's look over here and talk about your urinary system. So here we go, the structures of the urinary system. They are actually, before I talk about the structures of the urinary system, what is the urinary structure system? What is it for? Why do we have a urinary system? Why do we need to pee? Don't we need water? It seems like we're peeing water. Well, from the beginnings of evolution, from the most basic creatures that came out of the muck, the slime of the oceans, a problem that all animals have is the waste products of metabolism. So we've talked about one of the waste products of metabolism, or two of them actually, is during cellular respiration, converting glucose into ATP. We produce carbon dioxide, which is toxic, which becomes carbonic acid. It's bad for us. We don't want it. And water. Water is fine, but too much water is not fine. So we have a whole circulatory system, right? And a respiratory system to deal with getting rid of those wastes, with getting rid of carbon dioxide and getting rid of the water. You actually breathe out some of the water. That's why when you breathe on a cold glass, your breath condenses on that glass or on a mirror, and then you can draw on that mirror. Or when it's really cold outside, you can see your breath. That's all the water condensing as it hits the cold air, turning into not steam, not a water vapor. It's actually going from water vapor into little droplets of water that are suspended in the air. And that water comes from cellular respiration, comes right out of your lungs, comes right out of your cells. But there are more wastes that we produce. Amino acids. When we eat amino acids and consume amino acids, you may remember from our digestive system, we ate amino acids. We also sometimes break down amino acids for energy. We do stuff with amino acids, and the nitrogen group in amino acids gets broken off, and what happens is it turns into, excuse me, the model of the kidney is extremely dusty. I pulled it way out of the back somewhere. It turns into ammonia. And you may have encountered ammonia already if you help out at home and you've washed windows at your house. You may have used a product called Windex. Windex has a lot of ammonia in it. It's got a specific smell. Or maybe you have a cat at home, and cats pee, their pee is really ammonia. It's really gross. It smells really gross. And ammonia causes all kinds of problems. It's toxic. It can become acidic and all of these kinds of things. So ammonia is really bad. And actually, it's in terms of toxicity, it's way worse than carbon dioxide. So that's why before organisms evolved lungs and things like that, the first thing that they evolved was basically a urinary system. The most basic organisms have sort of proto-kidneys already in order to get rid of ammonia as fast as possible. So we have ammonia as one of the wastes, and what happens in humans, we've got the ammonia, it's toxic, it goes straight to the liver, and the liver converts the ammonia into urea, which is also toxic, but it's much less toxic than the ammonia, and that urea then goes to the kidneys and it gets peed out. That's the whole point, basically, of the kidneys, is to get rid of that urea. In addition to urea, there's also something called uric acid, and the metabolism of nucleic acids. That's the part of your DNA, right? The nucleic acids are, adenine, guanine, cytosine. So when we eat food, we also break down nucleic acids, and we actually can break those down for energy as well. We do some converging on them, and it creates like a purine group, blah, 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 blah. And those enter that the end result is you get some energy and some uric acid, and the uric acid also goes to the kidneys. It gets excreted from the kidneys. The name acid should hint you at that it is toxic and it is bad. So that's what the kidneys are for. The kidneys also control blood volume. They're able to control blood volume, salts in the blood, whether they're toxic, they can fill out some toxic vitamins and things like that. And that's what the kidneys are for. So let's talk about the structures of the kidney. Or that's what the urinary system is for. So let's talk about those structures that we have in the urinary system. Here we go. There's some urinary system. So 2 kidneys. Like I said, you can have only 1 kidney. It's funny enough, if you have a bad kidney and you donate, a person gives you a kidney, that you'll have 3 kidneys, because you'll have your bad kidneys, and then the donated kidney goes here and it gets tied into here. This is called the ureter. That's another structure of the urinary system. The ureter, and then you'll have 3 kidneys. You'll have bad ones and a good one. They don't actually take out the bad ones. But okay, so we start with the kidneys. This is where filtration happens. This is the major organ, the active organ of, and this is where urine is formed. Urine is made inside the kidneys, and we'll talk about that in the next section. And then that urine travels down the ureter. That's the next major structure of the urinary system, is the ureter. It travels down the ureter. And interesting thing about the ureter, it's got smooth muscle. It's lined with smooth. And if you remember from our digestive system unit, peristalsis. Remember, in your esophagus, you push the food bolus down into your stomach using the smooth muscle of your esophagus. Well, the same thing happens inside your ureters. So what the ureters, they have peristalsis that sends drops of pee, bits of pee, down into your bladder. That's the next organ, the next part of your urinary system. So you can pee upside down. I don't know if you could. I mean, you would get pee all over yourself. It wouldn't be very good. But the pee will flow from your kidneys to the bladder. I guess essentially astronauts can pee in space. That's what it's for. I mean, we didn't evolve that way because we didn't evolve to exist in space. But basically, in the weightlessness, you will still have peristalsis push the urine out to the bladder. This is how badly your body wants to get rid of urea and all those toxins. Excuse me. That thing was really dusty. That it actually expels energy to push it away into your bladder, to get it out of the bladder. So we've got kidneys, ureter, then we have the bladder, and the bladder is an expanding, it's sort of, it can expand inside, it's rough, it's also got muscle inside. And what it has, the bladder has stretch receptors. And so once the bladder stretches enough, it tells you, yo, dude or dudette, I gotta pee. And then you all have these sphincters. Sphincters are going to be skeletal muscle. There's two sphincters. There's only one sphincter here, but anyways, you've got sphincters, and one of them is autonomic control, so you don't really control, and one of them you control. Kids have a tough time learning how to control this sphincter, but I'm going to hold my pee. You learn how to hold pee. Kids sometimes have a tough time, or they forget to hold their pee, and they'll pee themselves. They'll be so into playing with something that they will forget, and they will pee themselves. You know what? Even adults sometimes pee themselves. Wait till you get older. You'll find out all about the wonderful things that are in store for you when you're an adult, and you have to pee all the time. But that's another story. But so urine is stored in the bladder. When the bladder stretches enough, it tells the body that it's time to pee, and then these sphincters open, and the urethra is just the path that the pee takes to the outside, to the air, to the outside world, to the toilet, to the back alley, wherever you're peeing. And the urethra in men obviously runs through the penis. In women, the urethra is a lot smaller. It empties out into the vagina. That's the opening. Right, that's the vagina is the tunnel. The opening is the. Someone will know. Someone out there will know. Leave a comment below. Say this guy doesn't know anything. This is the opening. So those are the macroscopic structures of the urinary system. So now let's zero in on some stuff. And there's there's a kidney, and there's a kidney, and that's a ureter, so that's running to the bladder. Look at how cool that is. That's really gross. And there's a kidney. I bet you that smells. I feel like that thing would stink. So let's break down some kidney. Here is the kidney. And so you're filtering blood. This is what's happening. You're filtering blood. And so this is the renal vein, and this is the renal artery. So this is blood coming from the heart. Remember, this is blood coming from the heart. It's shown here, in this diagram, that the renal artery, and then it turns blue, denoting that it gets deoxygenated, but it doesn't get deoxygenated. It gets filtered. It's just the blue means that this is now going back to the vein, the venous system, back into the back towards the heart. So this is away from the heart. So renal artery, blood comes in from the renal artery, and then it goes into the cortex. Okay, so the cortex is this area here. This is the cortex. You can see it looks different. Let's see if we can see in that image. There's that other image of the cortex. There we go. So we can see this is cortex here. Is that outside area. And it breaks down into little capillaries. There are little capillaries in here. Tons and tons and tons and tons and tons and tons and tons of little capillaries. So let's just talk about the path of the blood. I guess that sounds like a good idea. Let's talk about the path of blood in the blood vessels. So, so it enters into the cortex. That's this top part. And this part of the kidney is called the medulla. That's these things. These are called the medulla, and they have tubules in here. So in here, there's actually tubules. You'll notice that you'll learn about what that is in a moment. This is called the renal pelvis. This area here is the renal pelvis. Here, let's see if we can look on the dusty model, which will make me sneeze some more. So that's cortex here. It's full of capillaries. These are the medulla. It's full of actually tubes. This is where urine is starting to form, and then the urine collects in here in the renal pelvis, this yellow area. Yeah, that's where urine collects. And then via peristalsis, it goes down the ureter. There's the ureter. So that's basically the anatomy of a kidney. And now what we have to do is we have to zoom in to this cortex. We've got to go in to the cortex and look at these capillaries, because there's special stuff that happens here. So we're going in, and so there's these microscopic structures, millions of them, that are called nephrons. Okay, And this is the basic shape of a nephron. And so if you imagine this part of the nephron here, so imagine these are the arteries that come in, and here they're called so this leads back to the renal artery. These are the arteries, and then these are called they've got a name there. I don't want to mess them up. It's the afferent. There it is, afferent arteriole. Okay, so the afferent arteriole heads in. So this is the blood coming from the renal artery, and it's just been getting smaller and smaller and smaller. There's the afferent arteriole, and then there's these capillaries here that it branches off to. And there's a special structure, and then this is the nephron, okay? So the nephron is a bunch of tubes, and so urine is going to be made inside these tubes. It's going to be collected and made inside these tubes. And so this blood that's exiting here along this vein, okay, this blood is already filtered. That's nice and clean blood, and it goes back and it goes out to the body, and it's nice and yummy. And all your blood gets filtered. It gets filtered like a whole bunch of times per day. I don't know where it is. You can look it up on Google. Never mind. That's not important. It's not important. But so there's this special structure. The first thing happens, so you got the afferent arteriole. This blood, this unfiltered blood, is coming into the afferent arteriole, and this blood is under some serious pressure. And what happens, fun enough, that pressure is controlled by the efferent arteriole. That's where the blood continues next. It can actually constrict. So when this gets smaller, the pressure here goes up higher. This is why people with high blood pressure have problems in kidney failure, because this blood is always going really, really, really fast under high blood pressure, and these things can burst and create all kinds of awful problems. But so what happens here is this blood is entering this whole area, and if you'll notice, there is a sort of structure around it. And what's happening here is this is the main place. This is like a filter. So what is happening is these capillaries are leaky, and stuff comes shooting out of these arteries. And then the blood continues on. We'll get into the details of that next when we talk about, the path of urine and how urine is formed. So just know that this is first is the afferent arteriole, the glomerulus, then the efferent arteriole. And then here the blood enters what are called the peritubular capillaries. And see, they surround this tube. So the blood got filtered, and actually a whole bunch of stuff gets filtered out. What's left here in the blood is basically some water, and blood proteins and blood cells. Everything else, like glucose, amino acids, all the goodies that you actually want, as well as urea, the stuff that you don't want, and uric acid, have all been dumped into this tube. And then what happens in this section, the peritubular capillaries, what happens is the goodies are transported back in out of these tubes. They're brought back into the blood. So glucose, amino acids, nucleic acids, the things that we want are all brought back in, actively brought back in. The things we don't want, urea, uric acid, stay in these tubes. They stay in the urine. And then as it continues on, the blood, all these peritubular cavities. Is there any other blood vessels that I'm missing that are not in this diagram? So a renal artery. So the renal artery branches into a series of afferent arterioles, glomerulus, pressure filtration occurs here. Then afferent arteriole, which conducts the blood, peritubular capillaries, where things get put back in. And that's it. Then it leaves by the renal vein, the renal venule, and it leaves by the renal vein. So that's the path of the blood. Well, there we go. And sort of an intro to the nephron. What else do we need to say? Okay, the parts of the nephron. Let's talk about the parts of the nephron. Where is a good... There we go. There's a thing with all the parts of the nephron. Okay, so one thing to understand about this nephron thing, they're actually huge. They're microscopic. We can't see them here. But this part of the nephron, the loop of Henley and the collecting duct, they go way down. They go way, way, way farther than what we see here. So this part of the nephron, the glomerulus, and the glomerulus is the blood part. The renal corpuscle, that's the part of the tubes that surrounds the glomerulus. And you have to imagine these are like circles. So what you have is the glomerulus is like a bunch of these capillaries that are shooting out. Blood is going in there, but blood's not coming out. Just filtrate is coming out. So all the stuff that's small that can fit through the little holes of the capillaries. So glucose and all those ions and things are coming out. But big things like albumins and blood proteins and blood cells, they're not. They continue on. And then surrounding this is that corpuscle, is the corpuscle? Yeah, the corpuscle, the renal corpuscle. And so that stuff gets filtered out and then it goes into the corpuscle, and now it's in the network of these tubules. It's in the network of these tubules, the lumen of these tubules. That's the inside of these tubules. Now you've got water and you've got all this stuff in these tubules, right? Because water is also going to be coming out here via the glomerulus. And they travel along. So the first section is called the proximal convoluted tubule. Here is where active transport happens to start taking the goodies back, like glucose and amino acids. So there's actually proteins all along here, transport proteins that are take that stuff out and dump that stuff into the peritubular capillaries. So right away, we want those sugars and those things back. We don't want to pee those out. And one of the ways to tell kidneys are failing or your kidneys have a problem is when you pee and they do an analysis of your pee, you've got glucose and amino acids in your pee. It means that pressure filtration is filtering out all that stuff, but it's not being transported back into your blood, and that's bad. Also, you got blood. If you have red blood cells in your pee, bad. But you could have just fallen down, like I said. And what when you fell down is you damaged your glomerulus. No, I don't want to open an attachment. Okay, so that's the first section, is a proximal convoluted tubule. Then it continues on, and this part is in the cortex of the kidney. So that's the cortex. This part now crosses down into the medulla, into there. And what's happening here is this is called the loop of Henley, the descending limb, and then the ascending limb, loop of Henley. And there's all kinds of your favorite thing, osmosis, diffusion, fanciness in the loop of Henley. That's what's going on. Diffusion, osmosis, to pull water and restore salt balance to the blood. You're basically, that's what you're doing. You're pulling salt out and you're putting salt in. You're doing all kinds of stuff like that. You're balancing salt here. So this is all salty. If you put your finger on here, if you open up some guy's kidney and then you put your finger and you were like, it would taste really salty. And then it continues up here. This is the distal convoluted tubule. What happens here in the distal convoluted tubule, you've got acid, you've got hydrogen, you've got bicarbonate and hydrogens coming in and out. And basically what's happening here is the blood, because remember there's peritubule capillary network, there's blood vessels all surrounding this. What's happening is the blood is being balanced. So it's pH of the blood is being balanced. So if it's too acidic, hydrogen ions are being dumped into that distal convoluted tubule, and if it's too basic, the hydrogens are being pulled in or they're being kept. And then finally, the last thing is it joins. So you could see here, there's other nephrons here joining. They're just not being shown, and it goes into the collecting duct, which then continues down and empties out into the renal pelvis. And what happens in the collecting duct actually is the collecting duct can open and it can sort of open and close aquaporin. And so what can happen is water can be pulled in or not pulled in. So water can be pulled out of the urine or not pulled out. So you can have really watery urine. And there's things that we drink like caffeine that actually inhibit those aquaporins, the opening of those things that let water out. So when you drink caffeine, when you drink a lot of tea, when you drink a lot of coffee, you pee a lot and your pee is really watery because you're robbing convoluted tubules, the collecting duct's ability to reclaim water. Okay, am I forgetting anything? That is a really long, that's 24 minutes. But we talked about metabolic wastes. We talked about the sequence that urine travels in the urinary system. So that's, where is that? That's this, kidneys, ureter, bladder, sphincters, urethra. We talked about the blood vessels. So we've got afferent, we've got these arterioles. We have the renal artery, the renal arterioles, these little arterioles, the afferent arteriole that leads into the glomerulus, then the efferent arteriole, peritubular, capillary network, lots of exchange and stuff happens, and then we transfer over to basically the renal venule and then the renal vein, and off you go to the body. We talked about the structure of the nephron, so we have this also known as the Bowman's capsule or the Bowman's corpuscle. Then we have the proximal convoluted tubules, the loop of Henley, the distal convoluted tubules, and the collecting duct down there. And we'll talk about urine formation next time.